Welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast. We're going to take a look at Happy Death Day to You, which is a follow-up to Happy Death Day, which came out in 2017. Same directors, same writers. It's Christopher Landon and is also written by Scott LaBelle. This one stars Jessica Roth, who was in the first movie, Israel Broussard and Phi Vu. And the synopsis is, Tree Gelman discovers that dying over and over again was surprisingly easier than the dangers that lie ahead. So what happens in the first movie is that the character Tree, Jessica Roth's character, she wakes up in the guy's room. She doesn't know how she got there. The guy's very nice to her. She's in college. It's her birthday. She belongs to a sorority. People are not necessarily nice to her. She has a roommate. She's not nice to her roommate. During the course of her birthday, she dies. And then she wakes up again and the series repeats. So this one picks up with a side character from the first movie, who is the roommate of Israel Broussard, plays a guy named Ryan. He wakes up in his car. He finds his roommate and Tree together, and he's trying to figure out what happened, but then he dies, and then he wakes up again. He tries to figure out why this is happening. So, James, what did you think about Happy Death Day to You?
I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as the first one. Explained how things happened in the first one. In my mind, this is somewhat a prequel and a sequel.
Correct. So in this movie, they really get into why that happened. There really was not a lot of explanation about why Tree had this problem.
Why her life kept looping over and over again.
So this one provides some context about why that happened, why it happened to her, and then some of the outcomes of the decisions that she made. So go ahead, James.
I enjoyed that aspect of it. It was very good. I enjoyed that. But the only thing that I had a problem with, I watch a lot of horror movies. It was very predictable, but I still enjoyed it. I always talk about movies setting the tone. This movie set the tone from the first one. It was campy, but it was a good campy. It was enjoyable campy. And you can have campy in a horror film if it's done properly. This one ramped up the campiness a little bit more, but it worked for me. I enjoyed it because of that. But then there were parts of it that kind of had me cringing a little bit.
I agree about that.
Matter of fact, I'm not going to say a little bit. I was cringing a lot. It wasn't that many parts. It was just certain things. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. It was totally different because I was wondering, when you and I was talking about it before the movie came out, I was wondering, so how are they going to do this? How are they going to continue on with a sequel? And the way they did it, it kind of took a science fiction route.
Yeah, so the first movie is more Scream than science fiction.
Right. This one had a science fiction twist to it, which was actually pretty cool. I thought that was neat. To me, I thought it was well written for the simple fact that certain things were happening in the first one all the time. When something would happen, the lights would go off. And now it explains why the lights went off in this one. And every time the lights went off, that's when I guess they were using a certain device. And then the campiness of it was just, of course, the constant deaths, the constant going back and forth, all the comedic elements of it, which worked out. But the cringe parts were the sentimental parts. They overdid it. It was just a little bit too much.
Yeah, just because of the climate of today, that they have to tell Tree's story and give some context to Tree's background and why she's so sad, or why she's has a relationship with her dad that she has. I want to say that the first 20, 30 minutes of the movie is good.
Yeah.
I would say that the movie's a little bit longer than it needs to be, and believe it's an hour and a half.
Maybe an hour 45?
It's listed as an hour 40 minutes. It really just needed to be...
maybe an hour and a half, maybe.
No, probably less than that. An hour and 15 minutes. The extra 20 minutes is the emotional aspect of this movie.
Right,
They stop the movie to insert that, and then that goes off into a whole nother direction. Totally changes the movie, changes the outlook of one of the characters, which is fine. And I can understand that if this wasn't Happy Death Day 2. The original movie just, again, Scream, silly...
CW.
Yeah, silly CW college comedy.
Well, dramedy.
Yeah.
Drama and comedy, yeah.
Suspense thriller, like whatever you want to call it, but that was the whole point. This one just goes off in the wrong direction. So again, even when they introduce the guy Ryan is in the time loop, I'm like, yeah, this is what would be a good idea.
Right. Okay. You and I are on the same page, because when it first started off with Ryan being in time loop, I'm like, oh shit. So it's going to be him going through it now, and then Tree's going to help him get through all this shit. I was for it. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's good. That would be perfect. That would have been a good sequel. Not saying that what they did wasn't bad. It was bad.
off in the wrong direction at the point that they tried to put more emotion into it.
The direction they went into, it worked for me. I agree with you wholeheartedly. When they went to the whole emotional aspect of it, took a nosedive to me. Still not a bad movie. I enjoyed it, but it's not on par to the first one.
What do you think about the acting? About the same.
About the same. It's the same, but it's just so overly emotional to the point like came cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Like it was one part that I thought that Tree and another character were going to kiss. What? And then I was praying that at that scene that I'm discussing right now, I was hoping, Barry, I was praying that everything wasn't going to be fixed. And it didn't do that because I was expecting that shit to happen because the way they set it up, a person that watches a lot of these movies would expect a cliche thing to happen. And that would be, oh, they did this, so it's all fixed now or some shit like that. You know, it was just, that was the downturn of this movie for me. But the acting was just basically the same. The emotional parts were kind of,
Yeah, and I would say I was paying attention, but Jessica Roth is a good actress.
Yeah, she is a good actress.
Yeah,
like she wasn't bad.
She was great in the first movie. Bad. She's good in this movie, but it's just the story lets this one down. That's where it comes into play, the writing in the story. But with the first one, you gave the first one a 7.5. I gave it a 6.5. But okay. James, what score would you give Happy Death Day to you?
Since I gave the first one a 7.5, I would give this one maybe a 6.
Okay.
Like I said, the movie wasn't bad. When I watch it again, I would watch it again, but
I would watch the first movie. I would want to see a supercut. I watched the first
movie quickly before this one.
I would like to see a supercut.
Right. If you actually mesh these two movies together, it would be a good movie. I mean, overall, it could be done. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't up to par to the first one because of the emotional elements of it, and just they went in one direction, which they could have went and just stayed in that direction, and it would have worked out better. I probably would have given it a better score, but the direction they went in, I'm not mad at it. I just thought that it was creative. I thought it was creative because it just changed the genre of this movie to me. The first one was a horror comedy.
Well, suspense.
Well, suspense.
Yeah.
Because you would try to figure out who the murderer was. This one, you already knew who the murderer was if you paid attention to the first one. You actually had an idea. And the thing about it, I figured out who the killer was in this movie at one scene.
Because I
telegraphed
it. They telegraphed it way too much.
Way too early. And that is the downfall of it. First one, I personally didn't pick up on it. But this one, I picked up on it once they basically showed this character. I was like, they're it. But it's just that I give it a 6.
All right. So I'm going to give this a 5. It is revisiting a world that I enjoyed. The original Happy Death Day is a good movie. It showed up on Netflix. I'm like, oh, what is this crap? Saw it first. And it's like, hey, this isn't that bad. I'm like, hold on. All right. It's like, oh, yeah, this is pretty good. Want to come back to this world, it needed to be an extremely strong story because the first movie stood on its own. Today's market where sequels reign supreme. Again, I'm not sure if the first movie got a wide release, but it was on Netflix.
It did receive a wide release, and it did pretty well. It was a low-budget film. And of course, they got a bigger budget now because they surpassed its budget. So you could tell the production value increased.
The writing lets this movie down. And some of the directing choices. So the movie started off in a good direction and then pretty level at that point, and then just goes down to this emotional level that the first movie never expressed. Tries to go back to kind of the wackiness, zaniness of what it had already established, and it just doesn't do it well. So that's 5. Beast Game Podcast. Happy Death Day to you, and to you, and to you.